The worst punishments in Dante's Hell Explained. Dante's Inferno describes 9 circles of hell, each one worse than the last. But some punishments were so disturbing that they've haunted readers for over 700 years. This video covers the most horrifying punishments Dante witnessed on his journey through the underworld. From the Forest of Suicides, where the damned are trapped inside gnarled trees that bleed when their branches snap, to the frozen bottom of hell, where Lucifer himself chews on history's greatest traitors for eternity. These are not metaphors. In Dante's world, this is what actually happens to you. Featuring the Forest of the Suicides, the fortune tellers, the sowers of discord, the thieves, Count Ugolino, and Lucifer at the bottom of hell. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes. Content is drawn from Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, scholarly commentary, and literary analysis. Some elements are simplified for clarity. In 1320, the Italian poet Dante Alighieri finished a poem that described hell in more detail than any text before or since. The Divine Comedy wasn't a myth or a religious text. It was one man's vision of what eternal punishment actually looked like, circle by circle, sin by sin, body by body. Dante's hell has 9 circles, each one deeper and worse than the last. The upper circles punish familiar sins like lust and greed with familiar suffering. But the deeper you go, the punishments stop making sense as justice and start reading like something designed by a mind that wanted you to never sleep again. These are the worst of them. In the 7th circle, reserved for the violent, Dante enters a forest with no path. The trees are black and twisted, with gnarled branches and poisonous thorns instead of leaves. There are no people here, or so it seems. Then Dante's guide, Virgil, tells him to break a twig, and the tree starts bleeding. It screams. This is the Forest of the Suicides. Every tree in this wood is a human soul. When they died, their souls were thrown into the forest by Minos, the monstrous judge of hell, and wherever they landed, they took root. They were denied a human form for eternity and planted in the dirt as something that can feel pain, but can never move, speak, or cry out unless something tears them open. Harpies, birds with the faces of women, perch in the branches and feed on the leaves, ripping them apart over and over, and each wound opens a mouth that screams until the bark closes again. On Judgment Day, when all other souls in hell reclaim their bodies, the suicides will not. Their bodies will be dragged down to this forest and hung from their own branches, close enough to see, but never to inhabit again. Dante describes one soul who begs him to gather the broken branches at his feet so his body can be whole for a moment. It's one of the few times in the entire poem where Dante weeps in hell. Not because of the punishment's severity, but because of how completely it erases the person inside it. Deeper in hell, in the 8th circle called Malebolge, the realm of fraud, Dante finds the fortune tellers. These were people who claimed they could see the future, prophets, astrologers, and sorcerers. Their punishment is simple and grotesque. Their heads have been twisted completely backwards on their bodies. They walk forward for eternity while only being able to see behind them. Tears stream down their backs instead of their faces. They wanted to see what was ahead of them in life, so now they never can. Dante describes the sight as so disturbing that he breaks down and cries, and his guide Virgil scolds him for showing pity in a place where pity is a sin. In the same circle, further along the path, Dante encounters the sowers of discord. These are the people who divided communities, split families, and tore apart what others built. A demon stands at the path with a sword, and as the damned walk past in a single-file loop, the demon cuts them open. Some are split from chin to waist. Others have their heads severed and carried in their own hands. One soul walks toward Dante, holding his detached head by the hair like a lantern, lifting it up so it can speak. The wound heals as they complete the loop, and then the demon cuts them open again. It never stops. The circle never ends. Still in the 8th circle, Dante finds the thieves. Their punishment is one of the most creative horrors in the poem. They are trapped in a pit filled with serpents. When a snake bites a thief, the person's body bursts into ash instantly, then reforms from the pile and stands up, dazed and confused, only to be bitten again. But that's not the worst version. Some thieves are locked in a different cycle. A serpent wraps around one of them, and the two bodies begin to merge. Human flesh and snake skin fuse together. Limbs twist and combine until neither the man nor the serpent exists anymore. Something new stands in their place, something that is neither human nor animal. It wanders the pit until the cycle resets, and it happens again. Dante says he watched a man's face melt into a serpent's and couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. At the bottom of the 9th and final circle, Dante finds Count Ugolino. In life, Ugolino was a political leader in Pisa. His rival, Archbishop Ruggieri, locked him and his 4 sons in a tower and threw away the key. Ugolino watched his children starve to death one by one over the course of days. In hell, Ugolino is frozen in ice up to his chest, directly behind Ruggieri, and he spends eternity gnawing on the back of the Archbishop's skull. When Dante asks him to tell his story, Ugolino lifts his mouth from the ruined head and describes the tower in detail. He describes hearing the door nailed shut. He describes his youngest son asking him why he was staring. He describes the silence after the last child stopped breathing. Then he goes back to chewing. Dante doesn't comment. He doesn't moralize. He just moves on, because there is nothing left to say. At the very center of hell, frozen waist-deep in a lake of ice, is Lucifer. He is enormous, far larger than any giant or demon elsewhere in the poem, with 3 faces, 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 black, and 6 wings that beat constantly but only generate the freezing wind that keeps the lake solid. Each face weeps from its eyes while its mouth works. In each of his 3 mouths, he chews on a traitor. Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, is in the center mouth, his body shredded endlessly, while Lucifer's teeth grind without pause. Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Julius Caesar, hang from the other 2, their legs kicking from the jaws. Lucifer doesn't speak. He doesn't rage. He doesn't command armies or plot revenge. He just chews. The Lord of Hell is not a king on a throne. He is a broken thing trapped in ice, performing the same meaningless act forever, at the lowest point in the universe, as far from God as anything can be. Dante wrote this poem 700 years ago, and nothing written since has come close to matching the precision of its cruelty. Hell in the Inferno isn't fire and screaming. It's a system, and every punishment is a mirror of the sin that earned it. The people who tore others apart, are torn apart. The people who stole other people's identities lose their own. The man who consumed everything around him in life is consumed forever in death. Subscribe if you want to see every underworld in mythology explained next, and tell me in the comments which punishment you found the most disturbing. I'll see you in that video.